It's no secret that if Bikini Bottom had a justice system, Eugene H. Krabs would be rotting in solitary confinement. We're talking wage theft.
What's it? Dangerous, like taking candy from a baby!
Food poisoning.
Oh, I ate this yellow Krabby Patty and now I feel sick.
Child endangerment.
Meet ya, Monroe!
And some other stuff? In today's video, we'll dive deep to uncover every major crime Bikini Bottom's most greedy crab has committed. And what better way to start off than the times Mr. Krabs attempted food poisoning? Eugene H. Krabs loves cutting corners as long as it will earn him a quick buck. And in Born Again Krabs, we see how dangerous that can be. The episode kicks off with SpongeBob tossing out a rotten patty. But it doesn't take Mr. Krabs long to sniff it out of the trash like a bargain hunter on garbage day. The next morning, he actually tries to serve it to a customer because nothing says fresh like yesterday's biohazard. You don't have to be a genius to figure out that it's against the law. And if you think it's a one-time thing, think again. Because Mr. Krabs pulls the same stunt in Greasy Buffoons. This time, Mr. Krabs learns he could get customers hooked on his Krabby Patties if he cooked them in old grease. To make matters worse, SpongeBob, the guy who once thought a paper towel was a ghost, tries to warn him about the dangers of serving pure grease.
Actually, Mr. Krabs, I've been thinking, and well, don't you think maybe this whole grease thing has gone a bit too far?
But does the penny-pinching crustacean listen? Of course not. Mr. Krabs hears health hazard and translates it to higher profit margin. The worst, and honestly most unhinged example of Mr. Krabs putting profit over public safety comes in the episode The Krusty Sponge. We see Mr. Krabs make SpongeBob into a gimmick for the Krusty Krab after a review from a critic makes SpongeBob famous. Mr. Krabs doesn't just exploit SpongeBob in this episode, he also forces his staff to sell rotten patties.
You mean to tell me you actually expect people to pay $1.98 for a rotten patty?
Which don't just give customers food poisoning, they straight up turn them into zombies. Krabs might have gotten away with those atrocities, but in a sane society, he would be looking at serious health violations and food poisoning. If found guilty, Mr. Krabs would have to pay $300,000 in fines, and he could be looking up to 30 years in the slammer. And to take it up a notch, remember that episode Squid on Strike? If you don't remember that one, don't sweat it. It's basically the episode where we finally realized just how deep the wage theft runs at the Krusty Krab. On a regular day at the Krusty Krab, Mr. Krabs decides to give his hard-working workers their checks. And as soon as Squidward opens his envelope, all hell breaks loose. Instead of a fat stack of cash for all their hard work, Mr. Krabs actually charged Squidward and SpongeBob fees for outrageous things like breathing, standing, and existing.
You're making me pay you to stand at the cash register? What is the meaning of this? Have you gone off the deep end?
Now, I know you want to throw Mr. Krabs in prison for treating his workers badly, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. A flashback to the episode Bossy Boots shows just how crazy things get at the Krusty Krab. When Pearl decides to come work at the Krusty Krab, Mr. Krabs makes her the new boss. And that's where the nightmare begins. Pearl starts small with cosmetic changes, but that doesn't stay long and she does a whole renovation. Being the doting father, Krabs goes along with it at first. But after a while, he snaps back to reality and forces SpongeBob to lay her off easily.
There, Mr. Krabs. I'm sure there's another way.
That's it, boy!
What's it?
You could fire her! It's okay if she hates you!
That's not what I said, sir.
And that's when the big reveal comes in. After his daughter trashes the Krusty Krab, he docks SpongeBob's salary for a freaking year just to pay for the remodeling. If found guilty of these crimes, the wage theft alone could cost up to $20,000 per offense, plus back pay and 12 years behind bars. This brings us to the episode Clams, where we see that Mr. Krabs also has reckless endangerment on his rap sheet. The craziness of this episode starts when Krabs finally earned the millionth dollar he dreamed about when he was still a little crab. To celebrate, Mr. Krabs takes SpongeBob and Squidward clam fishing. And what was supposed to be a chill day by the water turns deadly when his prized dollar gets snatched by a giant clam. It's classic SpongeBob chaos, but let's be honest. Watching sea creatures go fishing underwater is kind of mind-bending logic that makes you question your own biology. Instead of chasing after his dollar himself, Mr. Krabs uses his workers as bait, which is a crime in any world. This lack of concern for the people around him also shows up in fear of a Krabby Patty. This time, SpongeBob gets on the receiving end of Mr. Krabs' greed when the Krusty Krab stays open non-stop. At first, SpongeBob is crazy about the idea of working 24/7 and is still full of energy the next day. But things take a turn for the worse when Plankton orders a batch of 10,000 patties.
The restaurant that never closes. You'd like to place an order? 10,000 Krabby Patties? We'll start your order right away,
Mr. Krabs had SpongeBob working like a horse to fulfill those orders, and SpongeBob eventually cracked. Eugene had SpongeBob hallucinating in broad daylight like a lunatic. And if that's not reckless endangerment, I don't know what is. For this crime, Mr. Krabs would be facing a felony charge, which would land him a 10-year sentence in prison and a $50,000 fine if found guilty. By now, you can tell it's not looking so good for good old Mr. Krabs. But buckle up, because we haven't even hit rock bottom yet. The greedy crustacean isn't just a cheapskate, he's also an unrepentant animal abuser. Yeah, somehow the sea's biggest penny pincher manages to make PETA look like amateurs. In the episode Jelly Hunter, SpongeBob whips up a new delicacy by combining a Krabby Patty with jelly from a jellyfish. A furious Mr. Krabs tries to scold him for messing with his recipe. But as soon as he sees a customer's reaction to the new creation, all he thinks about is the money. Mr. Krabs then forces SpongeBob into hunting more jellyfish for the latest addition to the Krusty Krab menu. What started out as a simple tweak to the recipe soon turns diabolical when Krabs forces SpongeBob to hunt the jellyfish to extinction. And to make matters worse, SpongeBob discovers the cruel machine Mr. Krabs invented just to extract the jelly. And it looked like something right out of a horror movie. If that isn't cruel enough for you, then you'd probably hate the episode Scent of Money, because it hit a little too close to home for SpongeBob. When Mr. Krabs discovers that Gary's shell attracts coins like a magnet, he temporarily adopts the snail for his latest scheme to find all the missing change in Bikini Bottom. Watching the episode, it almost seemed like Mr. Krabs had finally cracked the infinite money glitch. But oh, how wrong we were. Once he finds out Gary's getting hurt in the process, any sane boss would call it quits. Not Mr. Krabs. He milks that poor snail so hard that Gary ends up looking like he went through a blender. For a crime as cruel as animal cruelty, he's looking at nothing less than 8 years in prison plus an $80,000 fine. Moving on, only a truly despicable person would harm children for some profit. But Mr. Krabs isn't only cruel to pets. He doesn't have an issue putting kids in harm's way. We find that out in the episode Krabby Land, where Mr. Krabs whips up a scheme to get kids to spend money at the Krusty Krab during spring break. You'd think Mr. Krabs would try something wholesome to attract kids. Maybe a discount meal or a toy giveaway. But nope, this crustacean decides to lure children in with a death trap amusement park. And when that doesn't work, he takes it up a notch by straight up defrauding kids by promising a show from Krabby the Clown, who turns out to be none other than Mr. Krabs in a cheap wig. By the end of the episode, he admits that he cooked up the whole scheme just to get their money, which shows that there is no depth too low for Mr. Krabs. Unfortunately for him, the law doesn't smile on those willing to defraud kids and put them in harm's way. So, any sensible judge would slap him with a 6-year sentence and $40,000 fine. Next up on Mr. Krabs' greatest criminal offenses, we have the time he went full villain mode for some harassment and emotional torture in one course meal. The episode opens up with Plankton staging a massive attack on the Krusty Krab and the Krabby Patty formula. And just when he's about to finally get it, Pearl shows up and throws a wrench in his plans. As it turns out, the mischievous Plankton has a crazy fear of whales, which makes him lose his mind once she visits her captured dad. As soon as Mr. Krabs discovers Plankton's fear of whales, he puts on a Pearl costume and spends several days tormenting Plankton. We can't believe we're saying this, but learning why Plankton is terrified of whales actually had us tearing up. For Plankton, of all characters. After being tormented non-stop by Mr. Krabs in disguise, the poor guy finally snaps and decided to end it all. It's dark, it's tragic, and it officially cements this as one of Mr. Krabs' most despicable crimes. In the US, what Mr. Krabs did to Plankton would legally qualify as emotional torture and malicious harassment, which leads to a 5-year jail sentence and a fine of up to $100,000. Finally, we have to talk about the time Mr. Krabs tried to hide evidence of a murder in Nasty Patty. The backstory for this crime began at the Krusty Krab, where they got a surprise visit from a health inspector. Being the money-grubbing crustacean, Mr. Krabs tries to impress him with one of SpongeBob's super delicious Krabby Patties. But they suddenly hear a broadcast about a fake health inspector going around getting free food.
Special news bulletin! Be on the lookout for a man who's been passing himself off as a health inspector in order to obtain free food. That's all for now.
Thinking they've caught a fake health inspector at the Krusty Krab, Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob cook up a disgusting plan to poison him with the nastiest burger imaginable. We're talking a patty so vile it could qualify as biological warfare. But just as the poor guy's about to take a bite, a fly knocks him out cold. And right on cue, they realize that they had the real health inspector the whole time. The next few scenes turn into full-blown Bikini Bottom CSI as SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs scramble to hide what they think is a dead body, like two criminals in a true crime special. By the end, they find out that the inspector wasn't actually dead, which means they just spent the entire episode this close to sending an innocent man to the great beyond over a bad sandwich. That's the kind of crime that gets you locked away for a long time because we're talking about illegal disposal of human remains and evidence tampering. Those felonies could fetch Mr. Krabs a combined 25 years minimum with a $300,000 fine. So with all these atrocities Mr. Krabs has committed in Bikini Bottom, you're looking at a staggering $890,000 worth of fines and over 100 years in prison. Which, for a crustacean like Eugene, that would be over 3 life sentences. If you manage to stick around till the end of the video without taking the laws into your own hands, make sure you hit that subscribe button to motivate the Bikini Bottom Police Department.